Good evening, everyone. Again, as she rightly introduced, Ogochukwu Moyo, and I'm happy to be here with the people in product community today. Um, so, as the head of product at my HX, which is a human-centered product testing platform, and the voice behind the HX Blueprints newsletter, you can pretty much tell that I spend my days obsessing over how we can build technology that truly understands and elevates the human experience. Um, my passion is building technology that truly serves people, and that stands with understanding them deeply, both our users and each other within our teams. So today we'll be exploring how to cultivate empathy, how this isn't just a soft skill but a strategic imperative for building impactful products and fostering a thriving product culture. So, whether you are new to product management or you are a seasoned leader, I believe there will be valuable insights for everyone as we go through all the different complexities of human experience in the context of soft skills and work culture. So to get started, let's look at what it looks like building for real humans. Um, as product managers, designers, marketers, and leaders, our core mission is to build and launch products that genuinely solve problems and resonate with people. But how often do we see products, even technically sound ones, miss the mark, right? It's often not about bad code, but a fundamental disconnect from human reality. This is where the HX gap that I've been speaking about, even in the last webinar that I've done, is discussed. So this is where we talk about where products work, but don't work for them. So if, for example, you think about a market trader that is struggling with network, or a student that has data limits, or an entrepreneur that is facing documentation hurdles, these aren't just user problems. They are human frustrations that are stemming from a lack of deep understanding of their context. This is where empathy becomes your most powerful tool. It's the ability to truly step into their shoes. So, whether they are your end user or your engineering lead, to be able to understand their perspectives, their needs, challenges, it's not just a soft skill, it's something that influences every stage of the product development life cycle from ideation to launch and beyond. Let's look at what that is like. For example, in the ecosystem of experiences, this is where we look at user experience, employee experience, customer experience, and then human experience, right? To build effective products, we need to understand the interconnectedness of all of these different experiences because it's not just about the end user. User experience or UX, this is where product managers and designers would often live. This is where you ensure users can actually use the products effectively. Marketers would then communicate this ease of use to the people that it has been built for. But critically, employee experience impacts everything. Can your engineers build efficiently? Can your support team resolve issues quickly? So, as PMs and leaders, we are responsible for the tools, culture, and processes that empower our teams. Marketers also play a role in internal alignment. If you look at customer experience or CX, this is the sum of all the interactions. A PM would define this journey, Marketers would manage the overall brand perception, right? And if you're looking at it from a human experience point of view, this is the deepest layer. This is where you ask, does this product respect and understand the user's life? For example, in a past review that I did, I looked at palm credits and how bad the entire user experience, human experience is, right? Even user experience was good to an extent. Customer experience, okay, but all of this can still lead to a human experience failure if it disregards well being and privacy. You can't keep calling someone that doesn't want to be called just because you want to offer them loans or you want to do something else. You want to pitch your product, even after the person has told you to stop. So it's our collective responsibility to ensure products are equitable and affirming. So the key takeaway here is that empathy is the invisible thread connecting all of these experiences. It's what allows us to design effectively for users, empower our employees, and satisfy our customers. So ultimately, we create a positive human outcome, right? Um, so if we look at it um, if from an even more concrete perspective by looking at how empathy applies to each of the different roles across the entire product software development lifecycle from the earliest discovery phases to delivery and ongoing iteration. Um, from a product manager's perspective, empathy means in discovery, you are not just asking what features users want, but why they want them and how those features will fit into their different complex lives. So when you're prioritizing, you're empathizing with both users' needs and your team's capacity. If you're looking at it from a design perspective as a designer, empathy would guide you to visualize not just user flows, but also their emotional states at each step. You are designing for accessibility. You need to ensure your product works for people with diverse abilities, not just the average user. Okay? If you move on to the development stage for engineers, empathy means understanding the real human impact of your technical decisions. Is your code performing on a low end device? Is the error message clear and helpful? Or does it confuse the user? Right? So you are building robust solutions that anticipate real world challenges. If by the time developers are done, you go into QA and testing. So this is where QA product testers play a crucial empathetic role by testing for those edge cases and real world scenarios that people don't would not usually think about. What happens if someone is using the app with one hand in a noisy place, like maybe a market? You need to ensure the product works for all humans, not just ideal condition. So when you are testing, you need to think about all the different scenarios in which somebody might be here. Um, for marketers, we need to use empathy to craft messages that would truly resonate with the audience's pain points and aspirations, moving beyond just features to communicate genuine value. You need to be communicating benefits. You are listening to customer sentiment and feeding that back into the product loop. And for leaders in general, empathy is about cultivating a culture of psychological safety where everyone feels safe to speak up, share ideas, and admit mistakes. You are championing diverse voices, ensuring all perspectives are heard, making strategic decisions that would prioritize deep human needs. You are supposed to be thinking of the person you are building for. You are supposed to be thinking of why, what, not just that, you are coming up with the ideas on your own because you think that if you can use it, the other person can use it. So every role, every stage offers an opportunity to embed empathy. Now, let's get practical about how empathy directly impacts our roles in the product development lifecycle, from writing user stories to managing our teams. First, empathy for your users. When we write user stories, it's easy to focus on, as a user, I want this. But empathy pushes us to ask, why do they want this? How will they use it in their own context, in their real world context? It may be messy, it may be smooth, but how will they use it? This means you need to go beyond basic requirements to deep qualitative research. You need to be able to observe users in their environments, understanding their emotions, not just their tasks, what they do every second of the day. Like, how do they feel when they're experiencing something? So, if you think about designing, for example, a digital finance product, you are not just thinking about how to give them a complex app that won't work. An empathetic research would reveal their preference for visual cues, voice prompts, and the need for immediate tangible proof of transaction, like maybe an SMS or a physical receipt, because trust is built differently for different kinds of people. This empathy transforms how we write user stories and design features that would lead to products that actually get adopted. When we think about empathy for our teammates, your teammates, this is crucial for product culture. As PMs, we facilitate user story workshops. With empathy, we can ensure designers will be able to visualize the human problem. Engineers will be able to clarify technical feasibility. Everyone will share a common understanding of the human impact. If you're having a sprint planning session or even an ideation session, you need to make sure that all of your teammates are on board. Everybody understands the why, everybody understands the problem, and then they can pitch in accordingly. The fact that you're the PM doesn't mean that you are building alone by yourself. That's why you have teammates. So if everybody is on the same page, they will be able to share ideas better, and everybody can, you have a better product at the end of it because they can visualize it in their own way. This also builds psychological safety within our sprint. So when PMs, designers, engineers feel safe to admit a mistake or even to challenge a decision or to propose a wild idea, it leads to better problem solving and ultimately a more resilient and innovative product. This is a direct outcome of an empathetic work culture. So, what's the ultimate impact of cultivating this empathy in our roles? It creates a powerful ripple effect throughout your organization and even out to your users. So when you as PMs and leaders prioritize employee experience through empathy, ensuring your teams have the right tools, support, a safe culture, they are empowered to build better products and deliver superior customer service. This would directly elevate your UX and CX. And when you practice deep user empathy, your products will become truly resonant. Everybody can relate. You build features that anticipate needs, respect local context, like if you are designing for low data mode because people have unreliable network, and you bring out positive emotions, not frustration. So this drives higher adoption and loyalty. Empathy also acts as a powerful risk mitigator. It helps you avoid the pitfalls that we probably see when you think of different app scenarios. When maybe, for example, the e-visa system where there's an exclusion of certain kinds of people or those who use loan apps, all the different scenarios there. But because you are constantly checking back with real human needs and realities, you'll be able to understand the gaps. So ultimately, by making empathy central to your product development process, you are already beginning to close the human experience gap. Your products will be able to move beyond being just functional tools to becoming truly transformative solutions that genuinely uplift people's lives. So, how do we, on a day to day, operationalize empathy in our daily roles as products professionals? It's about small, consistent actions that is integrated into your workflow. First, we need to practice empathetic user story writing. Um, as PMs, we need to push beyond simple, as a user, I want statements. We need to be able to add context. We need to be able to add emotion and the true human outcome. Designers should be able to sketch out those emotional states in user flows. Like you can't just leave empty screens. Those are even opportunities that you're leaving. So, for example, if we decide to look at bad versus good empathetic user story writing, from the things we've talked about in this presentation, the goal of empathetic user stories is to capture not just what a user wants, but why they want it and how they use it in their real world context, right? You are supposed to be able to define all of that so that it will help your product team to truly understand the problem from the user's perspective. For example, for a bad example that lacks empathy and context is to say, "Oh, as a user, I want to receive SMS alerts for transactions." Why is it bad? It's bad because first of all, it's for a generic user. A user, if you just say as a user tells you nothing about who this person is or their specific circumstance. Also, you're focusing on the feature, not the problem. So when you state what the user wants, SMS alert, but it doesn't explain why it's important to them or the online underlying problem it solves, like you are just pushing for features and not what the person needs. You are missing context there. It's not considering real world environments or the emotional state of the user, right? But if you say, for example, oh, as a market trader operating in a busy, noisy environment, I need to receive an immediate SMS confirmation for every payment that I receive so that I can verify the transaction instantly to feel secure about my earnings and prevent disputes with customers. Number one is specific. There's a specific user and context, right? So you'll be able to say market trader operating in a busy, noisy environment. This immediately brings a clear persona and challenging circumstances to mind. It also highlights the why. So where you say so that I can verify the transaction instantly, it already explains the functional need while feeling secure about my earnings, blah, 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 is trying to help you uncover the emotional state of the person. And it also makes you feel like, okay, the person wants trust. So you are able to build something that will provide trust to that person. And in your user story, you are not just writing user story for one person, right? So you saying it out explicitly implies design consideration. User story suggests solutions beyond just SMS. So a designer will be able to get that, oh, perhaps um, a large clear notification or even an audible alert because you've said noisy environment. It speaks to the need for reliability and immediate feedback to build trust. Like it touches on security, that's financial well-being, trust, and efficiency in a specific daily context. So by shifting from generic feature requests to empathetic, context-rich user stories, product teams can ensure they are building solutions that would deliver a positive human experience. Secondly, we need to conduct reality checks. So don't just test in ideal conditions. All of us should be using our products on low end devices or with slow internet. Leaders should spend time listening to raw customer feedback directly from support or sales team, or if you even have access, that would be great. So it's because you need to be able to relate to what the people you are building for are saying. It's an incredibly humbling and insightful process. Conducting reality checks in real life is all about breaking out of the ideal conditions of your office or development environment and experiencing your products as your actual users and colleagues will do. It's a hands-on way to build empathy. So here is how you can do it. For one, to be able to understand your users, you should be able to do checks that would reveal usability issues, emotional frustrations, contextual challenges that don't just show up in analytics dashboard, right? You need to be able to use your product like a newbie. Delete and reinstall your app. Go through the entire onboarding process as if you've never seen it before. Are there any confusing steps? Are there any unclear instructions or unexpected asks? Use it on a low end device. Grab the oldest, slowest, least powerful smartphone or computer you can find. Test your app on it. How does performance impact the experience? Test with slow, unreliable internet. Turn off Wi-Fi. Use only mobile data. Does your app freeze? Are images loading slowly? Does it crash? You need to be checking for all these things. Use it in if it's something that is related to the example I gave. Try and use it in an environment that is similar, somewhere maybe that is noisy or distracting. Try using it on a busy street or maybe while you are on the road. Does the interface remain clear? Is it bright enough? Is it legible? Can I see when I'm outside? Essential actions easy to perform without full concentration, right? You need to be able to shadow customer support or sales teams. Try and listen in if you have permission, of course. Spend a few hours or a day listening to your customer support team as they're calling or having any sort of like sales interaction, because this is where you actually find the gold mine for being able to understand raw customer pain points and common confusions and needs that have been unmet that would directly relate to your product. Ask why the customer is calling. Don't just note the problem. Try to understand the frustration, the anxiety, the relief the person feels when the customer success or sales team is speaking to them. If possible, conduct what is called like a follow me home study, which is like a contextual inquiry. So, if possible, visit users where they actually use your product. So, maybe workplaces or even public spaces, right? See how your product fits, or maybe where it doesn't fit into their daily routines and specific context. How do they multitask? What interruptions do they face? That sort of thing, so that you can get as much feedback directly from the customers. Um, Two, for understanding your teammate, which is where internal empathy comes in. These checks here would reveal inefficiencies, frustrations, and communication gaps within your own organization that will impact your product delivery and quality. So, yes, PM is fighting developer, developer is fighting designer, everybody's fighting each other. Take a day to spend a day in each other's shoes. Shadow an engineer, sit down with your engineer as they work on a feature, try to understand their development environment, or maybe be on a call for as long as possible. Let them share their screen, let them see, so you can see how they are going about their work, the challenges of debugging, and how they interpret user stories. If you're working with a QA tester, on try to understand their process for identifying bugs and their frustration points with unclear requirements or maybe even difficult to reproduce issues. When you keep saying, oh, the customer is saying it's not working, but they are not getting it, like you need to understand why they are not getting it. If you are working with customer success teams or if you have a sales team, see how they are presenting the product. What questions are they getting? What objections from the customers are they facing? This will help you to be able to understand how the product messaging lands. So you know how best to work with the product marketer. You need to be able to process a customer complaint internally. So if your product has an internal system for handling complaints or bugs, try to navigate it yourself from the perspective of a support agent. Is it intuitive? Does it provide all the necessary information? Right? Use the tools your team use daily. Are the project management tools effective? Is the communication platform hindering clear conversation? Because often our internal tools are as much a part of our product as the external ones. Um, During cross-functional stand-ups or demos, actively listen for challenges. So beyond just updates, listen for the underlying struggles or frustrations your colleagues are expressing. Offer help or ideas, even if it's outside your direct domain. By regularly engaging in these reality checks, you gain invaluable first-hand empathetic insights that go beyond what data alone can tell you, because this deep understanding is crucial for building products where everyone feels seen and supported. So the third actionable step is to foster blameless feedback. When things go wrong, as they most likely will, focus on what happened, how to improve the system, not who to blame. This builds a psychological safety. And when giving feedback to colleagues, you can use a framework like situation, behavior, impact to keep it constructive. Because fostering blameless feedback in real life is crucial for building a strong product culture where teams learn from mistakes rather than fearing them. Right? It shifts the focus from who messed up to what can we learn and improve. So here is how we can do it either as a leader, as a team member. For leaders, PMs, team leads, managers, we set the tone. Your approach to feedback directly influences how safe your team feels. You need to be able to publicly acknowledge when you made an error or when a decision you championed didn't work out. Frame it as a learning opportunity. For example, I misjudged the complexity of that feature, which impacted our timeline. What did we learn from this? How can we estimate better next time? Maybe this is where you start to think about, oh, during sprint planning, everybody actually needs to speak. Actually, tell me what goes on in your work so I can be able to think around the timeline. It's not just about saying, oh, I think it's one sprint point or three sprint points. Like, what does that mean for you? Right? Focus on the what and how, not the who. So when discussing an issue, consistently frame it around processes, systems, and outcomes. Instead of who broke this, ask what happened here. How did our process allow this to slip through? How can we prevent it from happening again? So, and as a PM or as a leader, you need to be able to facilitate blameless postmortems or retrospectives at the end. Um, After a bug, a missed deadline, or a challenging launch, facilitate a dedicated session. The explicit ground rule that you should form is no blaming, and try to make sure that there are key questions that will focus on what went well, what could have gone better, what surprised us, what did we learn, And most importantly, what actions we would take based on this. You need to be able to capture all of these insights and then assign it to the different owners, ensuring that the lessons are not lost and actual changes are made so that you can prevent recurrence. Right? You need to be able to create safe spaces, ensure team meetings, one-on-ones, communication channels are places where people feel comfortable sharing concerns, asking dumb questions, and admitting when they are stuck. And you need to be able to praise vulnerability, acknowledge and appreciate team members who bring up potential problems early or even admit to mistakes, even when it's uncomfortable. Um, from team members' perspective, so like designers, engineers, marketers, QA, every team member contributes to the feedback culture. You need to be able to give specific, actionable feedback. So instead of "Ugh, your designs are confusing, why don't you try um, in the onboarding flow, which is the situation, when the next button was blue and looked disabled. So then you're talking about the behavior. I noticed users hesitated and clicked it multiple times. That's an impact. So you then phrase it as, could we explore a different color or maybe hover states? This would remove judgment and focus on actual actions that you've observed and their effects. You need to be able to focus on the work and not the person. Critique the design, critique the code, the marketing copy, the process, not the person's intelligence, the individual's capability. You need to avoid saying things like you always or you never, those kind of statements, right? Um, ask clarifying questions when receiving feedback to be sure that you are on the same page, because communication is only as good as, or good communication is only as clear when both parties understand each other. So if someone gives you feedback that feels personal or unclear, you need to be able to ask, oh, can you give me a specific example of when that happened, or what impact did you see from that action, so that it'll be able to help you understand their perspective without you getting defensive. When a colleague provides critical feedback, assume they are trying to help improve the product or the process, not because they are personally trying to attack you. These mindsets will help you listen more openly. And if you identify an issue, don't just point it out. Come with a potential solution or offer to help brainstorm one, because it'll be more helpful than being in a negative state all the time and not even having anything to fall back on. This would demonstrate a collaborative problem solving mindset rather than a critical one. You are not just a developer, you are part of the team. Your work is not just to write the code. Okay, you can write the code, you're just building what people will not use at the end of the day. So by consistently applying these practices, you can help build a culture where feedback is seen as a tool for collective growth and product improvement. It's not a weapon for blame. It fosters psychological safety, allowing your team to be able to experiment. They will learn faster and ultimately build better products. And I would say finally, on from a team perspective, you need to champion diverse perspectives. Actively build diverse teams, because diversity of thought is crucial for product building, empathetic product building. Creating meeting norms that ensure all voices are heard, not just the loudest. Marketers need to ensure customer research actually truly captures the breadth of an audience. When you champion diverse perspectives in real life, it's about actively seeking out, valuing, and integrating different points of views, experiences, backgrounds into your product development process and your team culture. It goes beyond just having a diverse team to ensuring that diversity is truly informing your work. If we think about how to do this, we can say in team composition and recruitment, um, don't just wait for diverse candidates to apply. You can work with HR to source candidates from different backgrounds. Um, think about ethnic groups, think about gender, socioeconomic, geographic, professional experience, if possible, depending on the kinds of questions you ask, neurodiversity, right? Um, if your team looks and think alike, proactively identify gaps. You need to be able to ask whose perspective are we missing on this problem. You need to recognize that brilliant product minds don't always come from the same university or career path. You need to look for somewhere that has transferable skills and unique life experiences. In meetings and discussions, you need to be able to create inclusive meeting that will become the norm. No idea is a bad idea for brainstorming. It's the same reason you say no design is a bad design, be, because you should probably have the reason you did that thing. So you need to be able to encourage wild ideas. You need to listen to understand, not to respond. So find a way to promote active listening. Give everyone time to speak. So maybe you use techniques like round robin sharing, or explicitly inviting people who are quieter to share their thoughts. Call out one person. Oh, Esther, what are your thoughts on this? Minute. You need to be able to send out materials in advance. So all team members, especially those who process information differently or need time to formulate thoughts, can contribute meaningfully. There are some people that they wouldn't get what you are saying until they've probably taken their time. Like everybody thinks differently. Some people are not on the spot thinkers. So as a PM or a leader, don't hug the mic. Ask open-ended questions that would invite different interpretations. When someone shares a perspective, especially one that is different, you need to be able to acknowledge it. Oh, that's an interesting point. Um, Thank you, Sam, for bringing that up. Or, oh, I hadn't considered that angle, Esther. That those kind of sentences make people feel valuable. And before launching, assign team members to play devil's advocate as much as possible. So imagine the product has failed, work backwards to identify causes, because this would intentionally bring negative or skeptical perspectives to light in a safe way. And when we think about everything, the people that we are building for, we need to be able to extend our empathetic lens to them. Broaden your research participants when you're doing user research and you're trying to get feedback. Don't just recruit users who fit your ideal persona or maybe because they are easy to access. You need to be able to actively seek out users from different regions, urban, rural, users with varying digital literacy levels, users with different economic backgrounds, users with disability or maybe specific accessibility needs, users who are not your power users but might be struggling. You need to be able to go beyond surveys. Use contextual interviews, use community forums, use ethnographic studies, or even talk to your support team to capture a broader range of real world experiences. As a marketer, you need to be able to challenge assumptions. Don't assume your target audience is monolithic. Research different segments to tailor messaging that would resonate uniquely with them. So use platforms that are designed specifically to help you do this, by connecting you with diverse real world users for testing and feedback, so that it can help you break out of your internal bubble. And in decision making and prioritization, you need to ensure there is diverse insights that will genuinely influence outcomes. Um, don't just listen, actively incorporate the different perspectives into your decision making framework. Make sure you are listing the assumptions you are making and discuss potential biases with everyone. Are we just assuming that everybody has high speed internet? And even the high speed internet, how we should have high speed internet. The fact that they say, oh, fiber one is good. Yes, it might be good in VI, but it's not good in Surulere. Like, if a diverse perspective brings up a significant unknown, consider a small pilot or A/B test to validate the assumption rather than dismissing it. As a leader, you set the tone. Right? Your leadership is key to embedding the cultural value. Make sure you are showing genuine interest in learning from others' experiences and viewpoints. Recognize and reward team members who are actively integrating different perspectives. And if you can, provide training on unconscious bias and inclusive communication. So by consistently championing diverse perspectives, you are not only building more inclusive and resilient products, but you are also fostering a richer, more innovative, and psychological safer work culture. So to conclude, um, the core message is simple. Human experience is not just a buzzword, it's something that is imperative for our industry. It's about shifting from simply building functional tools to crafting experiences that resonate, that enrich lives, that will stand the test of time. It's about starting from a place of genuine care for the people we serve, whether it's our users, whether it's our colleagues. So every day that you go to work, try to commit to one thing that is empathetic. Maybe it's sitting down to understand why my designer is always angry, or do something. Try and figure out how to make the next person feel better, right? So I think I've used almost the whole hour. Thank you for your time and attention. I hope this has sparked some new thinking, and practice one thing every week. Um, and if this conversation resonates with you, you can also check like LinkedIn for the newsletters, and you can get more insights from there as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Moyo. Like sincerely, this has been like how will I put it? Like very easy to digest, and I liked how you were able to like break it down and interpret the topic. Thank you very much. I'm just very people have questions. So if you have questions, you can just use like the raise hand feature, and I will call you, or you can like drop your questions in the chat box. Probably you have anything you want to ask, or you want. I thought I saw someone's hand now. Um. Okay. So does anybody have question that they probably like want to ask as regards to the topic, or anything that you need clarification as it relates to your team members or anything like that? Yeah, but I think I would ask a question, right, Moyo? So I know you spoke about having to, like, instead of having to communicate in a particular form, probably like you speaking your communication, instead of being like, oh, what's the issue with you, or what's wrong with you, trying to, like, reason with people. But there are some situations whereby I think my question will be like, how do you ensure that as a PM, regardless of whether they want of pressure or not of pressure you could be under, probably from like stakeholders, to ensure that, like, you get something out, you still try and maintain that bounce and keep like that great communication or great culture with your team members in always and at all times, basically, without having to, like, snap out or allow the pressure of work or anything like that to get to you, basically. I don't know if you heard me, Moya.
Yes, yes, I did. And it's a really great question. It's very real. And that's actually hit at the heart of what it means to be an empathetic product manager, right? I mean, it's easy to preach empathy, but it's much harder to practice when stakeholders are breathing down your neck. The key is to shift from being reactive to potentially being reactive, blame oriented, what's the issue mindset, to being proactive and in a problem solving approach. So, for instance, tr- there's a way you can set the stage early, right? Before problems even arise, establish a culture of transparency. Regularly communicate progress, challenges. I mean, it's not yesterday that you probably had those conversations with stakeholders. You've probably known about it for a while. Or even if it's now they've told you, like, try as much as possible to communicate and pass information across as needed. And when you are speaking to stakeholders, try to communicate progress, challenges, realistic timelines to them, because this would reduce sudden pressure, right? For critical issues, communicate early, even if you don't have all the answers. Oh, we've encountered a complexity here that needs further investigation. I'll provide a detailed update by the end of the day. You don't know because maybe the developer doesn't know and QA hasn't found the answer. But as long as you keep telling people what's going on, it removes the it helps with no surprises, right? Help stakeholders to understand the nuances of product development, the importance of every stage. If you're at discovery, iteration, and what the potential roadblocks are. So when they understand why, they are more often patient, right? Um, Shift from blame to discovery. So when your manager would ask, what's the issue? They are usually looking for a culprit or a quick fix. Your role is to change it, to reframe it. So instead of, oh, the issue is that engineering missed the deadline, try phrasing it in a way that is like, oh, we identified a delay in so feature. Let's understand why this occurred, what the impact is, um, what we can do to get back on track or mitigate the risk as the stakeholder, right? Like I said, you need to focus on the system, not the person. So it seems, oh, our estimation process needs refinement. How can we improve it? You should already be proactively working. You've already identified that, oh, we'll be late, we'll be behind this sprint. You can already start working with the engineering manager ahead of time. Okay, these are the things that I think would come next, pending any feedback from customers. So for these specific things, what do you think about them? Let's start working towards them proactively, right? If we are working with QA, we're asking how can we enhance our QA process. You need to support your explanations with objective data. Oh, our user research shows this feature is confusing 70% of new users. you need to bring data, not accusations. Bring data when you are explaining to stakeholders, oh, this technical depth that we need to work on would add 20% to every new feature in this module. Like, you need to explain why to everybody. Like, that should be at the top of your mind every single time, right? As long as everybody understands the why, they'll be able to relate more to you. And you need to be able to filter stakeholder pressure. Your team doesn't need to feel the full brunt of every stakeholder's anxiety. As a PM, you need to be able to act as agents of shield. You need to be able to digest the pressure, process it, and then you now present the solutions or next steps calmly to your team, right? That's why you are a PM. You are the person that supposedly knows at least 50% of everything. So when new urgent requests, and I say urgent in quotes because most times everything will be urgent to everybody. Yes, you acknowledge it, but you need to be able to learn how to gently push back and remind stakeholders of current priorities, the impacts of switching context, and say it in a way that's, oh, okay, I hear the urgency of this, but to integrate it, we need to deprioritize this. What is most critical? But even before you even say what's most critical, this is where your data again still comes into play. Like, and this is where your work with customer success, like you should have already understood what is most critical and then see how what they are bringing in levels accordingly, and ensure that your team knows is safe to admit challenges or mistakes to you, because if they fear your reaction and or they fear stakeholders reaction through you, they'll hide problems which will only make things worse. So it's be friends with them as much as possible. Regularly reiterate that the focus is on learning and improvement, not blame. Like, try to be friendly. It's not every time you message them, oh, Samson, how far? Like, okay, Samson, how are you doing today? Have you had time to rest? How is this thing going? Do you need help on this? You're a PM, so like, and because you know at least 50% of something, if you know something is struggling with something, also try to help this person research, go on Stack Overflow and the rest, try to see if there are solutions, and then you can message this person and say, oh, I actually found this somewhere. I don't know if it's relevant to what you're trying to work on, right? So everybody feels like, oh, they can trust you, whether from a stakeholder side, whether from your team side. You are the person in the middle. So with stakeholders, you need to present yourself as a reliable partner. You need to be able to be seen as somebody who can deliver on promises, even if it means delivering bad news, and show them you understand their concerns. And if it's from a team perspective, like, be their advocate, show them that you trust their expertise and you support them when things get tough, because a team that trusts you, it will be more resilient under pressure, because they will know that, oh, Esther did not just wake up to come and give us another thing today again. And
Oh,
if you're still facing all of that, try to talk to someone outside, maybe a mentor, fellow PM, anybody that would help constructively manage your stress and give you a different perspective, and you to go and sleep. Maybe you are feeling pressure because you haven't slept.
interesting. Yeah, thank you very much, Agachukwu. I actually have one follow-up question, but then I'm looking at the time, right? I don't because we actually feel like I don't know if I should just I think I'll just ask, but probably just keep like keep you within try and round up within next 5 minutes. So I apologize about that, guys. So let's say for example, someone that doesn't that hasn't like built all this rapport, like built this over time. So how do you then now, also I've learned about this now. How do I then now like narrow that down into my team and and look at and then now start like playing this out basically gradually day by day, because if people do not know you to be in a particular way, it actually take time for them to like adjust to the new you or the new like form of you trying to like do things and all. I don't know if you have like probably just something seen, probably one or two minutes basically, then we can call it.
Okay. Um, you can do this in different ways. I think I've already mentioned some of them. Be transparent and find a way to build trust behind every explain the why behind every decisions, even tough ones. Um, we are doing this because this person needs this for a critical customer demo next month. I know it impacts your work, but I appreciate your flexibility. And then follow through on your promises. If you say you will get back to someone by a certain time, do it. And if you can't, communicate why, right? Make it your mission to unblock your team. So if an engineer, for example, is stuck waiting for a decision, prioritize getting it for them. You can do things in the background that is not even in their faces that you'll be like, oh wow, Esther is trying something different. If a designer needs access to a tool, help them facilitate it. You can even be the one to go and create it for them and then go afterwards to explain to the stakeholder on why it's important. And you can even explain it from your own point of view, like, oh, I've tried this and I see that it's genuinely blah 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 blah. Like, and then by the time you start doing all of those things and guarding the team from excessive context switching or necessary meetings, pushing back on unreasonable stakeholder demands, they will start to see it in bits, and that way like they'll be able to start appreciating like, oh, she's actually changing your perspective. And then I mean, you can occasionally ask, is there anything I can do better to support you or the team? You can start from there. After you explain something to somebody, you need to be able to ask, was my explanation clear? Because this will show that you are humble and it show that you want to improve, right? Um, and when they are speaking, show that you've heard them by rephrasing what they've said. So if you say, if they're talking to you about maybe something API related, you need to rephrase it like, oh, if I'm understanding this correctly, the limitations of the API is making it hard to implement this user story. Like, it will make them feel like you understand and you're hearing them. So it can start from you, from your own perspective, changing it slowly in a way that would affect them positively before you even like rub it in their faces. And again, just drop by to say hello, even if it's in their DMs, their Slack, or if you are there physically, right? Take a few minutes each day to walk to different people without, obviously, not when they are doing deep work, like just to say hello or to ask a casual question. So it's not like, oh, every time I see Esther, I know that she's coming with problem.
All right. Thank you very much, Moyo. I've learned a lot, and I'm people on this call, so I've learned a lot. It's really nice, like having you come speak to us about this topic, and we look forward to having you again. And thank you everyone for staying with us this far. And once again, this is like People in Product webinar series that happens every second and last Thursday of every month. And we'll be having another one next month again with different. This one we're talking about building proper work cultures and soft skills and everything that product managers can inculcate into like their daily lives to aside from technical skills you have to help you perform better and be that A player in the industry. We also have other events that like the GMS, that's the General Mentorship session that happens on Tuesday, and IPS, that's the interview prep session that happens on Tuesday to interchangeably, and also like the biweekly check-in call where you can come around, talk about your life as a product manager, connect with other product managers, and also like learn from their experiences. It was nice connecting with you guys today. And my name is Esther, and see you next. Bye guys. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Bye, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you for calling me. Thank you. I calling. You can stop recording. Thank you.